on the ground in a fetal position, screaming in pain. And there's no way to hide from the scalar beam. What it does is it drags like a boat wake. It drags ionized particles through the atmosphere, and that's what actually causes the pain. The scalar wave goes right through your body, but the particles that it drags along with it, charged particles in the atmosphere, impact your head and will penetrate to certain depths and are extremely painful. The case, we've got dozens of pictures of people that are being burned. It's the most compelling evidence that we have is to show congressmen, and we did this in the summer of 2019. We visited more than 300 offices of congressmen and senators in Washington, D.C. We showed them these pictures. Many of them were shocked and appalled, and we told them the CIA is behind this. The reaction you get from congressmen is just one of, I'm not going to get involved in that. I know better than to mess with the CIA. They're scared. They don't want to help you. Unfortunately, there's a patent called remote neural monitoring, and we've got it listed on our website. I don't recall the precise number, but it describes in detail how they can read your brain waves by intersecting two signals in your brain. And there's a differential that's created by your brain waves, and they can read that back from a cell tower or a satellite. And over a period of weeks or months, they can literally read most of the thoughts of your mind. People are very disturbed at this. And even I was very skeptical after I was being assaulted. I was very skeptical that this is real. But for example, we've had targeted individuals come to us and say, I'll be looking for my keys, and they'll tell me where my keys are located.
Oh my God. Wow.
And they can read your subconscious mind and recall where you left your keys and tell you where it's at. We've also found there's a delay between a subconscious thought and when it reaches your conscious mind, and that delay seems to be about 6 or 7 seconds. That's enough time to bounce a signal off your head and know, oh, I'm going to reach for my coffee cup, and before you can even touch the coffee cup, they respond back, you don't need that, it'll make you fat. This is the type of harassment that V2K does to individuals 24 hours a day. You cannot imagine the debilitating effect of being criticized 24 hours a day.
Now, is it a little person harassing you, or is it a computer algorithm? What is that? I can't imagine somebody's with you 24/7 just watching and listening to your brain. What happened there? What is that?
That's a good question, Rachel. So what we found is that there is a software program that the government, the Adobe software company developed a software called Adobe Voco. And with a small sampling of any person's voice, the software program can mimic very precisely their entire voice. The inflections, even stutters or lisps can be precisely reproduced by the software. So there was a woman I want to say it was back around 2015 or so. She believed that President Obama was talking to her through the V2K. So what the CIA had done is sampled President Obama's voice using Adobe Voco, and was broadcasting it at this woman's mind. She honestly believed that President Obama was directing her to do things. She ended up getting shot trying to enter the White House.
Oh, I remember
This really happened.
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay, so they can literally sample anyone's voice. Now, what they do to TIs typically is they'll take your old spouse, you're divorced, they'll take your old spouse's voice, mimic it, and use it to harass you.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Sure, that would be good, yeah.
So that's one of the typical complaints we get. So many women will come to us and say, it's my ex-husband, it's my ex-boyfriend, he's the one that's harassing me. And you ask them simple questions. Does this person ever take bathroom breaks or eat? And they're like, that's right, it's 24 hours a day. Well, how does he talk to you 24 hours a day? That's a computer, that's not a person. And you have to walk them because they're absolutely convinced that their ex-husband is the one that's behind it. And you have to explain, no, there's a software program that can mimic your ex-husband, and all they do is type in the commands. It's a very good point, Rachel. So one of the things that the government has been leading is there are societies, organizations, particularly in electronics, they're called IEEE. They're a very famous foundation worldwide. The CIA has been planting moles and agents to manipulate the development of standards that benefit the CIA. For example, your screen has a flicker rate. Your TV screen and your computer screen has a flicker rate that is designed to place you into a trance. It induces a trance, which makes you more suggestible, more receptive to anything they broadcast at you by putting you in a light trance. So LED lights, fluorescent lights have been designed deliberately to flicker at a rate that's designed to induce you into a trance. This has been going on for more than 3 decades. The President of the United States is about level 17. So there's about 17 or more security clearance levels above the president that he's not allowed to know about. This type of program is grossly unconstitutional. We've got to tear down this program.
Tell me about the type of people that can, because I bet you a lot of people listening to this right now are like, that's so crazy. I would never happen to me. I don't even know what they're talking about. Tell us about the different types of people this happens to.
So typically, and there is no stereotypical or label that we found random random induction into the program. So you don't necessarily have to have done anything wrong because they're looking to expand their experimental base. The goal, I strongly recommend Dr. John Hall's book called Guinea Pigs. He goes into detail. He's one of the first people that had professional credentials that wrote a book describing the gang stalking and the satellite tracking. His first book was called Satellite Terrorism in America, and his second one was Guinea Pig. So he's basically, based on the number of people that had contacted him over approximately 20 years now, he has broken down the program into its elements and tried to better understand what's going on. So there's a nomination form to put people on the watch list, and we determined the majority of the people on the terror watch list are non-investigative subjects. Even though the FBI claims these are known or suspected terrorists, yet they have a category called a non-investigative subject. Now, why would you claim someone is a known or suspected terrorist and you don't want to investigate them? Obviously, something doesn't add up.
You're doing something else.
That's right. So this is how they track targeted individuals. They put them on the terror watch list. The ACLU about 10 years ago determined there was some really uncouth things happening with the watch list, and they tried to get into it. All their FOIA requests were denied, and they ended up filing a lawsuit against the FBI. And they gathered more than 13,000 pages of information that was denied. From that, they discovered that a huge category of non-investigative subjects was on the watch list. Again, why would you do that? Why would you claim someone's a terrorist, but you're not going to investigate them? Because they know they're not terrorists. So this is simply a way for them to track them, and it helps to justify to sheriff's office, police departments, and first responders, oh, this person's name's on the watch list, don't treat them, don't help them. So they are unknowingly participating in the harassment because they're told these people are terrorists, and of course they're not. Right. Now, if they truly were terrorists, why wouldn't you arrest them and prosecute them? Why would you let these people wander the country if they were true terrorists? Fusion centers, the fusion centers, there's at least one in every state. Here in Texas, we have, I think, 6 of them.
Yeah.
And these fusion centers are there was a Senate subcommittee investigation into them about 10 years ago, and Senator Tom Cotton was on this committee, and Dr. Rand Paul is on this committee at present, and they found out that the fusion centers were abusing people's civil rights. They were gathering suspicious activity reports on people without merit and without reasonable cause. And they got a very harshly worded letter from this Senate committee saying, fusion centers, you were supposed to be investigating terrorism, and all of the information we've seen from some of your fusion centers have nothing to do with terrorism. They were collecting people's names because they put a sticker on a bathroom wall. Trivial instances, and yet they file a suspicious activity report and put this person on a watch list, for God's sakes. Yeah. It's outrageous, some of the things that are happening at these fusion centers. They need to be dismantled, defunded, and shut down. They are the source of all the gang stalking based on the research that we've done. So we have found the documents on the DHS and FDA websites claiming that these are 100% funded by the government, and they use local officials, local sheriff's offices, local police departments to staff these centers. And we have found that there's at least one or more individual in these organizations that's called the intelligence supervisor or intelligence officer, generally works for the DHS or the FBI directly. And these people, this is the excuse they use to block FOIA requests, is, oh, this is intelligence, it's national security, you're not allowed to know about it. But really what they're doing is stalking and harassing, organizing these house break-ins, assault and battery, harassment, destruction of property, some very serious crimes that are deliberately organized by these fusion center groups, and we need to shut down. We estimate there's about 1.5 million targeted individuals worldwide.
Okay.
But it is grossly illegal for them to track us using microwave pulses that clearly cause brain trauma. So an MRI was done to these Cuban diplomats, and they did find brain trauma, even without, or it looks like a concussion event, but there hasn't been a concussion event. So it's clear that these microwave pulses damage the brain. It causes memory loss, difficulty concentrating. We found that calcium supplements can help with that because it actually depletes calcium from the brain. Once you're motionless, they can hit you with messages over and over and over again. And this is one of the methods they use to manipulate family members and turn family members against you. It becomes like a message that's repeated 10,000, 20,000 times over weeks of period until the message sticks. And unfortunately, your family members who are unaware this is happening can be manipulated and turned against you. And in fact, the way the program's set up, when they've identified a target, the first thing they do is go after the family members. So when the target discovers they are being attacked with microwave weapons, the family immediately goes, oh, you're crazy. That's the first response of the family, because the family members were targeted even before the individual.